It even implied that his QB could have returned to the game this past Sunday under different circumstances, telling reporters, quote, there was a chance back in the day that Patrick comes back in the game. You saw him run up the tunnel. At the time he got to that point, he was feeling pretty good. But there's a certain protocol you have to follow, and that takes it out of the trainer's hand and the player's hand and the doctor's hand. So, Shannon, are you glad he wasn't able to return?
Yeah, and that is absolutely right, Skip. But we know more now than we knew 20 years ago, 30 years ago, hell, 10 years ago. We know more. We know concussions and repeated concussions have lasting and long-term effect. And billion-dollar lawsuits against any corporation will change the way you do business.
Yep.
The NFL, Skip, they used to put out these videos jacked up and you got smashed and all. They don't do that anymore because that was leading to it. And Skip, look, we know the players. We see guys have injuries and they take injections and they get out there and they go play. This is for an opportunity to get to the Super Bowl, and you see Aaron Donald on the field crying after the game because he's like, man, I don't know how many more opportunities I'm going to get like this, and here's an opportunity that's gone because I'm not 100%. In years past, Andy Reid is absolutely right, Skip. That game got close like it got. He came running right back down at the tunnel, and then put his butt in there. But the NFL says, we're going to, you know what? We're going to take it out of your hands because you're going to do in the best interest of the team. And the player says, you know what? The player's going to do what my guys need me, Skip. They counting on me. I got to be superhero for them. So the NFL says we're taking it out of the team's hands. We're taking it out of the player's hands. We getting independent doctors and neurologists on the sideline. And for most part, Skip, when a guy get dinged, he ain't coming back in the game. And when you see a guy get like that, get hit like he a boxer, and he's staggering, he has to be held, he shouldn't come back in the game. But he's absolutely right. You could have gotten dazed, staggered like that in years past, 15 years ago, and they'd have put your butt right back in the game. I'm glad the NFL is doing what they can to take the players out of it because, Skip, you don't want to let your teammates down, especially in a moment like this. So I'm glad the NFL has adopted different protocols. I'm glad the team has no say in it. I'm glad the players, because, hell, Skip, they used to ask you back in the day, you see these 2 fingers, how many fingers I got? You have to go repeat what you said. You said you had them 2. And I run back in the game. So it happens. I'm glad they did not allow Patrick Mahomes to take his butt back in this ball game.
And as Andy said, back in the day, not that long ago, it would have been pretty cut and dry if you can go back in the game because we did see him run up the tunnel without assistance. He looked like he was, at that moment, fine.
Skip, on a Monday night game, I did a crackback on Chris Slade. I never forget it. I hit him with the crown of my helmet. I knocked both of us. I was out. We were winning the game. We was up by like 20 points, Skip. That thing got close. Guess who went back in the game in the fourth quarter? Me. Skip, we didn't know. I mean, we know, Skip, you got your bell rung. I didn't even hear the term concussion until I was damn near probably like 8, 9 years in the league. You got dinged. You got your bell rung. Skip, nobody used the term concussion. I never heard of no concussion. Oh, you got your bell rung. Oh, you seeing stars. Okay. Shake it, hey. Shake my head. Get the cobwebs out. Come out for a playoff, coach. I'm good. Go back in there. Not anymore.
So my first brush with this came back in 1979 when I was first covering the Dallas Cowboys, and the great Roger Staubach was told by his family doctor, not the team doctor, his family doctor, Roger, you got to stop. It's just too many. What was his nickname early in his career? Roger
the Dodger.
Okay. So he would run like a madman, and he was really good. He's a Heisman winner at Navy, obviously, and those first 5, 6 years, remember, he did a Vietnam tour, so he didn't start till he was 28.
Right.
So this was age 38, but he was like he was still 28. And they just told him, sorry, you need to stop.
Right.
Team doctor said, you're fine, let's go.
Of course.
And Roger said, for the sake of my children, my wife, I just have to stop. And it was a shocking announcement in Dallas-Fort Worth because he was it. He's still 20.
I think they had just lost it. Didn't they lose to the Falcons? I think they lost to the Falcons in the playoff that year, Skip. That was his final one, 79.
It was the Rams.
Right, okay.
They just lost to the Rams, and his final pass weirdly went to Herb Scott, which was his offensive guard. You know, that was his last completion. But we didn't know at that moment that was going to be his last completion. My point to you was, nobody had any idea then, except an independent doctor said, Roger, you just can't do that. You're going to have serious problems. Okay, so I got that. I'm all for brain safety. I'm about erring on the side of caution. But the problem with the new policy is it can also err on the side of the absurd, because you have to put every case in the same bin. You know, you have to throw them all in there and say you treat them all the same.
Right.
Well, they won't even tell you whether Patrick Mahomes actually was diagnosed with a concussion, because we don't know, and they don't care.
Well, Skip, I ain't no neurologist or neurosurgeon or anything. I know what he had.
Okay, do you? Because I don't, and I've been watching for a long time. I still don't see what happened to cause him to stagger.
But Skip, that's the thing, though, Skip. You might not have saw it.
Okay, remember, even our Jay Glazer reported soon after the game that there was some report out that he had some information out of Kansas City that he got choked out a la UFC, you know, where you lost oxygen supply because the linebacker has him around the throat for a second. To me, it didn't look like it was long enough to get choked out, but that it was an oxygen problem. And he does, if you see it, he falls on the football, which can, as you well know, it can knock that breath out of you and you feel like you're about to die for a second. You see him fall on the football here, and yet his head didn't hit the turf. And Andy said he was told that it was the blow to the back of the head that staggered him. I don't know. Again, I'm just shooting in the dark. I'm just guessing like you are. But the body language of the stagger, that's it.
But
now all bets are off.
That's even if you don't know, that's one after you see that player does that, he can't come back in the game.
Obviously, this is a big game on Sunday. And it's sink or swim for the Chiefs. You told me yesterday, if there's no Patrick Mahomes, Buffalo's got a great shot at winning this game.
Buffalo winning the game.
Okay, so you say it's a done deal, Buffalo wins. So it's sink or swim.
Yes.
Does Patrick pass or not through the concussion protocol? So just to remind everybody, because it's fairly new, there are 5 steps to this protocol. They're complex. You know, the first one's just light stretching and balance training and very light aerobic exercise. And then if you have to be passed through that step, and then you graduate to more serious cardiovascular exercise. You do more balance tests. And remember, they've already taken your baseline scores before the year starts, your neurological baseline scores. So you have to pass that your tests are showing you're back at your baseline. That's just stage 2 of this. Then you go to stage 3, and it's a limited amount of football-specific exercise. And then if you pass, you go to stage 4. It's another big round of tests and non-contact football drills. Okay? And then if you pass to stage 5, guess what has to happen? You've got what's called now the INC, Independent Neurological Consultant. Well, this is huge because somebody not affiliated with the Kansas City Chiefs, somebody agreed upon by the Players Association and the National Football League, completely independent. Maybe it's a doctor from California.
He ain't completely independent. You'd have to get somebody that's not affiliated with either to come in and evaluate it, because somebody paying that salary.
Okay, but again, it's somebody they've agreed upon who is probably not that familiar with the Chiefs. He's going to come in from the outside in. I assume you're going to have to fly him to Kansas City for the final sign-off.
He might not be familiar with Kansas City, but I guarantee you he know the AFC Championship game going on. And he know who Patrick Mahomes is.
Well, now you're sort of talking out of the other side of your mouth.
But I'm just saying, Skip, I understand it's independent.
Is this guy a football fan or not? Because I am. You're obviously an ex-star, but a fan. And do we want to see Patrick be allowed to play? Yes, we do. Because we did get to see him run up the tunnel. For what that's worth, he did bounce back fast enough. He ran up the tunnel. He did bounce back fast enough that Andy Reid said prior to this kind of protocol, he said, I'm pretty sure we would have put him back in the game because he seemed fine. Okay, does that mean he was fine? No, it does not.
No.
Okay.
So, I used to do, I was one of the first ones when they came out with the baseline test where you would test before just in case you got a concussion. I did better after I got the concussion than I did before in the regular season, before without anything, Skip.
Well, maybe it smartened you up a little bit. I don't know.
Maybe so.
Maybe it knocked
because what you do, Skip, is that they make you do things with your left hand. You have to do, they put you on the clock and you do things like that. You put in the different holes and locations. But Skip, after seeing Patrick Mahomes, Skip, you know he wasn't going to be able to come back, especially in like you said, during today's protocols.
Okay.
But what did the guy say, man? I can't skip. You don't want to let your teammates down. They counting on you, and you like, man, like I got to get back out there.
Okay. So the average quarterback over the last 4 years has been able to return within 7 days. That's been the average sort of baseline of their return.
Right.
Does that mean he would be cleared? I don't know.
I tell you what, if I'm a Buffalo, I ain't worried about no quarterback sneaks. He ain't quarterback sneaking, Skip.
Well, I wouldn't be worried about any more option plays.
Nah.
Right?
No option.
He might scramble on his own, but nope, they're not going to call any more runs.
Unless it's 4th and 1 with the game on the line.
Yep.
And you dive over from the one, Patrick Mahomes is not going head first into anything.
So, fortunately for Patrick Mahomes, he doesn't have an NFL history of concussions.
Correct.
There's no cumulative buildup yet.
Right.
He did have one it was reported at Texas Tech.
Are you glad he wasn't able to return?
Yeah, and that is absolutely right, Skip. But we know more now than we knew 20 years ago, 30 years ago, hell, 10 years ago. We know more. We know concussions and repeating